Good evening. On behalf of the governing body of the City of Passaic, we welcome you to the September 16, 2025 City Council meeting. In accordance with Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by resolution of the Municipal Council adopted on June 17, 2025, setting forth the schedule of meetings for the year 2025-2026. Said notice was published and posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board by the Office of the City Clerk. Please be further advised, this meeting will be conducted in person. The Zoom stream provided is for viewing only and is offered to the public as a convenience. On September 6, 2025, public notice and Zoom instructions for this meeting were published in the Herald News and posted on the City of Passaic website at www.cityofpassaic.com. Council agendas. Instructions are also available on the last page of this agenda. Please be guided accordingly.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Present.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Present.
and Council President Scheer.
President, Councilman Monk, for the record, I do not believe will be able to join us tonight, and I'm waiting to hear word on Councilman Love. At this time, I ask you to please rise.
Thank you, God, for bringing us here today. Bless those that are on their way. Please continue to bless our city and guide us in the decisions we are about to make today. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us at tonight's City Council meeting. Just a few notes. Number one, schedules are located immediately outside both exits and entrances to council chambers. You may also access everything that is being done tonight on the internet. It is available through the city's internet. You can get copies of all resolutions, correspondence, etc., ordinances that are being proposed as well as to be passed for this evening. We also ask, if you have a cell phone, please put it to vibrate or turn it off. If you must have a conversation with your neighbor, we hope that you'll be so kind as to join with them outside, have your conversation, and then come and join us. This is a very strangely constructed room. It's difficult for us to hear what you are saying because of the acoustical standards. Okay. At this time, we are on Roman numeral 4 of our agenda, the mayor's update. We are pleased and honored to have Mayor Lowe with us this evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Council President, members of the City Council, City Hall staff. Not working? Is it on now?
I believe it
You
is.
have to start from the beginning. Good evening, Council President, members of the City Council, City Hall staff, and our wonderful residents of the City of Passaic. Council President just made it. To all those who were also at back to school night, congratulations on juggling so much. We literally just finished 10 minutes ago, so I was just able to make it. As always, I want to share a few updates regarding what's going on around the city and our community. On September 9th, we did the rededication of Latona Griffin Park in memory of Battalion Chief Joseph Griffin and firefighter Sam Latona, who lost their lives in a fire. That is what we often refer to as the 100 Steps, the very top, where we were able to create the very first ever fitness park conducive for children and those who are part of our senior citizen community, with equipment that obviously provides all people of all ages opportunity to exercise and enjoy recreation in an area that is not in proximity to any existing park. So not only were we able to restore the 100 Steps, create recreation for various individuals in the community that did not exist, but also restore this monument in honor of our brave firefighters who gave their lives saving others. At the ceremony, we had Chief Trenacross and members of the Latona and Griffin family with us. In continuing our efforts to strengthen partnerships earlier this month, we joined with our Congresswoman in our district, Congresswoman Poe, where she opened her satellite office inside of City Hall for constituent services, directly, though, serving the city of Passaic, but open to all members of the 9th District. The hours are Mondays and Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also, along with the business administrator who's next to me, Rick Fernandez, were able to join a mayor's breakfast hosted by her office, along with mayors from her district, to share some of our concerns, ask questions, and receive updates as to her approach regarding funding and working with the administration to ensure that our district, and again, very specifically, the city of Passaic, continues to receive essential services, but of course, resources, and by that I mean funding for infrastructure, for supporting our police, and obviously parks and infrastructure projects, basically anything that will ensure that we put less of the burden on the taxpayers. So we were excited to hear some of the news. We are cautiously optimistic as to some of the projects that we may have successfully gotten to her office and possibly will be approved. So we will update that in the months to come in our efforts to honor our heroes and remember the most tragic day in our nation, September 11th, through a cowardly terroristic act. Over 2,799 individuals lost their lives on September 11th, and hundreds in the days to follow, and many more in the years to follow. We had our September 11th memorial ceremony where we had council members. At that ceremony, we had Assemblyman of the 36th Legislative District, Gary Scher, who shares an uncanny resemblance to our council president. I say that all the time. But he gave a very profound and deep speech remembering the lives of those that were lost and acknowledging the hurt of the families impacted, and obviously the efforts of our nation to come together in unity and to continue forward. I want to thank our Deputy Mayor of Veterans Affairs, Minnie Cousins, or Minnie Austin, for her efforts in putting it all together, and all of the council members that were present that day. Thank you, members of the City Council. We also unveiled the 9/11 monument that was previously at the Passaic High School. As many know, that building will be demolished. We were able to receive over $350 million, one of only a handful of cities in the entire state of New Jersey. Out of 564 municipalities, about only 5 received funding. I believe we received one of the largest amounts to build a brand new high school with state-of-the-art facilities, technology, classes more conducive for education, lower ratios of students compared to teachers, and for the first time ever, a full aquatic center with an actual pool that may provide opportunities for residents and those in the community to utilize. So we're extremely excited. But with that said, I just wanted to give context. The reason why the monument was unveiled at the city, it was before at the high school, and because it's going to be demolished, it needed a place. So we offered City Hall, and it is now in front of our entrance, and it will be there for the next 5 years, Council President. Along with the City Council, and many in our community leaders. We had a few street namings honoring leaders in our community, those who worked in the school and otherwise, which we'll share additional information on that in the final update. In terms of community engagement, we celebrated our local businesses, and with great team spirit, we had a Taste of Passaic bike tour with our brand new bike sharing program. Council President, you're familiar with it. I've seen you on the bikes in the morning early on throughout the city. That's between us. But you can see there's different locations where we have the ride sharing programs where many of our youth have learned that we offer the first 2 hours free. And many of our more tech savvy youth have learned that if you return it before the 2 hours, you can take it for another 2 hours for free. In a sense, you could just have it free all day. We did that on purpose because we want more children engaged. But in order to connect that, because it is a UEZ Urban Enterprise Zone program with our local businesses, we had a Taste of Passaic where many were allowed to get on the bikes and do a tour through our bistro district, our restaurant areas, our Market Street, and many of the restaurants came out and offered free samples of the food. I believe our CFO, Omar Garcia, participated in that ride. Not that one? All right, you don't want to admit it. All right. So I just want to share that, as well as we are having a few community engagement initiatives, town hall meetings with our tenants, with our landlords, to ensure that everyone understands in full detail all of the recent ordinances that have passed and how they impact each person. I know there's a lot of information out in the community, and it's important that we can clarify provisions that have been made for our landlords, for our property owners, as well as measures taken by the city council along with my administration to protect those that are most vulnerable from any predatory practices. I believe we have taken an extremely pragmatic and responsible approach as government, and we will look at it closely as we monitor it over the years to see what further adjustments we can make to ensure the success of our city, while at the same time, again, I reiterate, protecting those who are most vulnerable and sometimes find themselves without the resources or voices to be heard, as many of us feel that our positions provide us the opportunity to amplify the voices of those that aren't heard. I wanted to share some good news for our public safety and our police department. I want to thank Chief Luis Guzman, as we recently promoted two new sergeants of the police department right here, which lined up with two retirements. We try to be, again, and I use this word often, pragmatic, responsible, good stewards of the people's resources. So we try to balance these things out. And when we have retirements, we look to bring in individuals, whether new hires or promote, to fill vacancies that have been created naturally or organically through retirements. I want to share on a sad note, we also mourn the passing of retired police officer Wagner Lawson III, 21 years of service, and retired firefighter Richard Richie Gergat's 28 years. During the procession, which happened during the week, council president, members of the city council, our city hall staff came out to the front of City Hall. I know that we had former Commissioner Luis Santiago, who was also present there, many in the community, to pay respects and tribute to this fallen police officer who dedicated 21 years to our city. And many of our police officers came out with the family, specifically as they communicated to us, genuinely and sincerely touched, and expressed their gratitude and appreciation to the council, obviously to the chief of police, and to all in the community who came out to show collective support and express sympathy during their time of loss. September 15th, in regards to upcoming events, we begin the start of Hispanic Heritage Month, which continues to October 15th. I can say this, but no one else. I was asked, why does it start on the 15th? And I shared that sometimes when things start, we're about 15 minutes too late. I'll move it. Anyway, I think the DA, no, Madam Clerk? Okay, then let's continue. Again, as I was sharing, some of you will get that later. September 22nd through September 26th, we have Employee Health Wellness Week, where we'll have the health department and different fairs on City Hall property. On September 28th, we will have our Mexican flag raising parade and festival. It is the largest parade regarding the Mexican community, those of Mexican descent in the state of New Jersey. We have had at times over 10,000 individuals participate in our streets. It ends with a festival in Pulaski Park downtown. So we're extremely excited of having that again this year. Pulaski Park also leads us to the statue that was put up of General Pulaski down at Wall Street, honoring the history of our Polish community. In October, we will also have our Polish flag raising and our Italian flag raising ceremony. And then in the next couple of weeks, Council President, we continue our efforts to expand our parking spaces in the city from Madison all the way down to Pennington. Gregory Avenue will be striped, and many of the spaces will be angled parking, but the others will be designated parking spaces. We have found this to be a most effective way to increase parking spaces because it stops the individuals from parking and maybe leaving just enough space between them where you think a car can fit, but it doesn't. So with the designated spaces, we have found that we've been able to create more parking spaces, and with angled spaces, obviously, they're less wide, so sometimes we can double, even triple the amount of parking spaces. Obviously, contingent on the width of the street, but we've been able to expand this initiative as well as create more parking lots throughout the city. So with that said, I'm going to end that report there. Council President, members of the City Council, in case you have any questions.
Mayor, if I may, you mentioned, excuse me, in terms of parking spaces. How long has the program been in intact in terms of expansion of parking spaces, and what kind of numbers do we have offhand?
So I would argue that the city has always looked to create additional parking spaces, but over the last 4 years, with the parking deck that was completed with over 300 parking spaces, with initiatives that provide residents opportunity with parking in front of their driveways, where in the past you would get a ticket for doing so, identifying areas in the city that maybe had grass but weren't really used for parks that were conducive for that. We've been able to create over 700 new parking spaces in the last just 2 years, and over the last 4 to 6 years, over 1,000 through these initiatives, parking lots, angled parking spaces, and much more.
Parking is a problem throughout the city?
It is. We're one of the most densely populated cities, 3.2 square miles with over 70,000 residents, at least according to the last census. And obviously, it's not very easy to find parking. We've had other initiatives where we've done parking permits in specific areas that border with another municipality, for example, in our downtown, because our neighbors, our wonderful neighbors in Wallington and Garfield and Bergen County, they have permit programs. So some of the individuals were coming over to Passaic over the border and parking overnight, taking away spaces from the residents here. So we instituted a permit program overnight for specific hours, and that alleviated some of the concern. But yes, it is very difficult to your specific question to find parking throughout the state, but we've been able to manage and create some additional parking, and that's been a bit helpful. There's much more we should be able to do.
That's great. Thank you. Questions from the council? Seeing none, thank you again, Mayor.
Thank you,
We're up
Council
to
President.
Roman numeral 5 on our agenda this evening, hearing of citizens. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJS 10:4-1 et sec, the council opens every public meeting for comments of the public. However, in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12, nothing in this act shall be construed to limit the discretion of a public body to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation at any meeting. Therefore, please be advised that the council will not entertain any comments from persons who communicate obscene material, make statements which are considered bias, intimidation, in which a person intends to intimidate any individual or group because of race, color, religion, gender, handicap, sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or makes these comments intending to harass or speak any offensive language. The person who makes these statements will relinquish their allotted 5 minutes for public discussion. We invite anyone who would like to speak before the council to do so. Everyone is limited to 5 minutes and 5 minutes only. When the clerk has a bell, it rings, it means it's 4 minutes, and we ask you respectfully to conclude your remarks. At 5 minutes, I promise you the mic will be turned off, and we will respectfully thank you for your participation. We also ask you to share with us your name only. We do not need your address for the record. Is there anyone who would like to address the council at this time? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Council President. My name is Joshua Goldman. I live at 185 High Street, even though you don't need it. Many of you may recall that I addressed the council in May to discuss the need to update the R1A zone to best align the zoning ordinances with the smart growth for Passaic's future. At that meeting, I was given helpful feedback by the council to review the re-examination of the master plan that was conducted in 2024. Since then, I have reviewed the entirety of the 2024 re-examination of the master plan, as well as taken the additional step of speaking to numerous officials here to gain additional insight, such as the mayor, the BA, the council president, all of whose time and accessibility I'm grateful for. Having completed all of this due diligence, I now return to the council to once again implore the council to pass an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance to remove the conditional use of high rises in the R1A district. I do this primarily as an outgrowth of what the mayor told me in our meeting. In discussing a specific application, which is not the subject here, the mayor said he wishes he could help, but there was nothing he could do since the application was as of right. While I disagree with his characterization, his empathy and statement that he couldn't do anything demonstrated that rezoning, which would protect the community from having their hands tied in the future, is crucial. I'm sure the mayor would support this request to correct the zoning code so that nobody in Passaic should have to expend energy fighting off a proposed use that nobody needs or wants, and so the city shouldn't have its resources wasted defending lawsuits from applicants or objectors from the can of worms that the conditional use opens. But it's not just political expediency that requires the council to adopt the proposed revision. In reviewing the re-examination of the master plan, I also reviewed the actual master plan performed in 2013 and was surprised that 10 years before, it explicitly came to the exact same conclusion as me. Namely, the 2013 master plan explicitly calls for an analysis of the area, the R1A, reveals a stable, well-developed zone that should be preserved in its current form. It is recommended that the conditional use requirement for multifamily apartments of 4 stories or more be deleted from the section, end quote. Most of the council members that are serving today were on the council and approved this master plan in 2013. Why the council never took action according to the recommendations of the master plan is beyond me. It is therefore clear that changing the zoning would not only match the constituents' desires, but just as importantly, also provide for good city planning and produce a healthier future for Passaic. Not in my words, but in the words of the city's own planning experts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Neil Ross. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the members of the council. It is just a wonderful thing that in this country, citizenry can appear before their elected officials and address issues that doesn't occur everywhere else in the world. So it's something to be appreciated. That said, I ran into a little glitch calling into the planning board recently. I'm very, very low on technology. So I get the code numbers, call in on my landline phone. I was able to get into the meeting, but when it came to speaking, there were some issues. So hopefully going forward, every possible attempt will be made to allow for participation for people who don't have every bit of technology and want to participate in the government process, who have low tech and can participate on an equal basis. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Good evening. Joe Conoscenti. Council President, my first question, the ordinance 2485-25, residential parking permits. The question that I have is, what does this contain to? Is this for the whole city, part of the city? I would like an explanation on that. My second question is, the zoning map. I'm going back when they changed it over. And I don't recall a R1A. So recently I found out that sky's the limit. All of a sudden we got sky's the limit. Before you could go dig down to the ground, maybe 10, 20 feet. Now you can go up to the sky. It's amazing.
Hopefully more than 10, 20 feet.
What's that?
Hopefully more than 10, 20 feet.
Well, when you go down, I'm saying, to make up the difference for the height. My thing is that Westerville Place and Orchard Street, I don't know how they come up with a R1A because that's a small area. That's a small residential area. The streets are narrow. This thing, if it passes, it's going to be humongous. You're talking about the height of the bank building and half of St. Mary's on that whole corner. It's crazy. I would like to have answers on this. My next question I have
Mr.
is,
Conoscenti, you'll forgive me, what was the question?
the question is, why in this area, this thing is humongous, so big? For what reason? We're going to start looking like New York once you pass this, because it's going to be continuous. It's way too big for that area. My next question I have, street naming signs. I noticed if you go down the county roads, you got city roads. The question that I have, I know city could approve on the city roads, but did they get any kind of approval on county roads for these signs? That's my question. My next one I have, the VFW Albert Lawson, 10117. 135 Summer Street. They just made a new building. They did the service, they did everything. I'm not against any of it, but I have only one problem. It's a VFW post, it's a VFW DAV, and you have American Legion. The problem with this is the American Legion is illegal because it's not registered. Nowhere is written anywhere. Um, my thing is, I like to see it taken down until it's official to make it American Legion. We only have two. Actually, we got 359 on 3rd Street, there was, and there used to be 200 on Hoover Avenue. But they start losing the soldiers and everybody, and there's no more continuing. My next one is the property at 147, 149 Broadway, in violation of 21915 obnoxious growth, and the property's in need of full cleanup and repairs, and I don't know what they're doing with this property. All I know is he's one of the builders that we have in Passaic. And I don't know why he's getting away with this. It's gone too long. There's so much trash. There's so much. It's just horrible looking at it every day. I don't know. The departments were supposed to have it in court. I don't know whatever happened with it. I don't know what you people are doing with it. But you need to do something. 181 Harrison Street, 103 stairs. I appreciate the new steps.
Thank you so much for your comments, Mr.
That's it.
Conosante. Let me try to briefly respond to some of your questions. Number one, you asked about county roads. The street namings are honorific, and to the best of my knowledge, they do not require county approval.
The jurisdiction is the city of Passaic. You're correct.
Thank you, sir. Next, in terms of the VFW, the American Legion, and Daughters of the American Revolution, and so many of those other organizations, if there's any goings on
Can
between
you
them,
put the mic closer? I can't hear you.
if there's any goings on between them, I'm sure that they can look forward to correcting the situation. The problem amongst those organizations is historic, as you know, Mr. Conosante. They go back many, many years, and include areas that we would rather not get into. So unless something.
It's not registered as American Legion. That's my
Well, Mr.
point.
Conosante, we trust that you will write a letter to the newspaper and let them know through their readership that it is not something that hasn't been done. In terms of 147 to 149 Broadway, Mr. Fernandez, any thoughts on that cleanup area?
We'll have code enforcement go take a look.
Very good. Mr. Fernandez, the gentleman asked why was R1A created? What is its genesis? This goes back how many years since it was done?
So it's probably the late 50s. There was a report done, a planning report conducted, and ultimately after that report, the city council at the time passed the conditional use of the R1A for the high-rise component, which was the question that Mr. Conosante was alluding to.
Good deal. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address the council?
Hello, esteemed members of the City Council.
We could ask you to speak a little bit louder, ma'am.
Sorry. Hello, esteemed members of the City Council. My name is Razel Azer. I'm here to discuss the R1A rezoning. This area is a small area, and it plays a very important role in our community. It includes a private school that many children walk to and from every day. Introducing additional high-rise developments here would significantly increase traffic, congestion, and parking pressures, which in turn would put those children at greater risk as they cross streets and walk along sidewalks. Protecting their safety must be one of our top priorities. Beyond this, our neighborhood is made up of almost entirely of single and two-family homes. That low-density character is what makes it safe, family-oriented, and livable. Allowing additional high-rise buildings in this location would be out of scale with existing homes and inconsistent with the fabric of our community and the needs of the neighborhood. Many people are interested in moving here, but can't find the appropriate large single-family homes that they so desire. There are also broader impacts. Our streets are already congested, and public services, such as schools and public transportation, are stretched thin. Adding additional large multifamily homes would compound those problems and diminish the quality of life for everyone who lives here. It's important to stress that this is not about resisting change for the sake of change. We all want our city to grow and thrive, but growth must be appropriate for its settings. High-density developments belong in areas that are designed and equipped for them, not in this small residential pocket where children walk to school and families have invested their lives in building a safe and stable neighborhood. By modifying this zoning in this area to allow only 1- and 2-family homes, you would bring clarity, stability, and fairness. You would protect the integrity of our neighborhood, ensure the safety of our children, and preserve the residential character that so many of us treasure. I ask you to please listen to the voices of the people who live here and support this rezoning request. Doing so will protect safety, character, and livability of our community for generations to come. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wish to address the council?
Just making it short. I grew up in the country, didn't like
I'm sorry,
it.
ma'am, which will be for your name?
I grew up in the country,
Your name.
Leah Zimmerman,
you.
101 Westerville.
Thank you.
Okay, country was not my speed. Got stuck in the city for a bunch of years, not my speed either. And I moved here because it's suburban. And I'd like it to stay suburban. We've been here for over 30 years. And that's the type of community we want to live in. And I'd like it to stay like that, not have very big high-rise buildings like the one that's being proposed right behind my house, literally. We don't have to, I know that the town has spent a lot of time, the mayor has spent a lot of time working on the parking issue. Thank you. But we don't have to even imagine what the parking situation would be like if we do build 194 apartments with, what was it, 150 parking spots. We just have to look at the Pennington apartments, and we know exactly what's going on. When I drove there last night, and the person I was driving with could barely find the spot in front of her house. And this is a much, much worse problem. And it's obviously, I'm not for a project like this right behind our house and in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Fernandez, what is the status of that area, the R1A area? Could you share with us some thoughts?
I'm sorry, sir?
Could you share with us background to R1A? Why does it exist? Why was it put here? Can the council tomorrow?
So based on the previous studies that were there was a long discussion in the paperwork regarding the area and access to mass transportation, right? Understanding that on one side of the train station is a significantly strictly single-family R1 zone without any other uses permitted, right? Adjacent to that, you have now what was created back in the time in the 50s, the R1A zone, which is what permitted the construction of your Carlton Towers, the presidential towers, the boulevard towers, and the townhomes that are surrounding them. Based on the studies and the review, the fact that this zone wasn't created as a permitted use, just so we're clear, the permitted use is your single family and your townhouses, I believe. But because of the proximity to the train station, at the time, they developed a conditional use for a high-rise type of establishment. The way they wrote it was buildings of 5 stories or more, or 50 dwelling units or more, and they had 100 dwelling unit per acre maximum density within it. To meet that conditional use requirement, there are a number of conditions which are very distinct and very different from the underlying permitted single-family zone that is there, that have to be met before they can end up at a planning board. If they do not meet those conditions under the state municipal land use law, they would then go to the zoning board for what's called a conditional use variance, which holds higher burdens of proof based on the code. So based on that, and as we're all aware, it was back in the 50s, members of the audience stated they've been in the area for over 30 years. For you to be able to take advantage of one of these conditional use requirements, there has to be a collection of properties to make it big enough to be able to apply the conditional use variance. That's why you don't really see it as often. And after, I think the last one built might have been the Presidential Towers or the Boulevard Towers. I'm trying to remember on the years. You really haven't seen many more of them developed. But the reason that R1A, which is a limited area, right? So putting it in perspective, it's one of the smallest zones next to our OR zone that we have. It's our smallest residential zone. And the reason for that and the way it was delineated is because of proximity to the train station and to not negatively affect the residential single-family homes that surround the other side of the train station. And that is why that area that we're discussing not only has basically our major residential towers, because there's really no other residential towers in the municipality, but also your garden apartments. So you have the Barry Gardens that are there, and then the townhouse complexes that you've seen built around the area. And that was all due to the creation of that R1A zone, which stemmed back from a study that existed back in the 50s.
Could the council, in its wisdom, decide to change the zone?
Absolutely. There has to be some sort of nexus and consistency with the master plan to do so. But yes, under
Well,
municipal land use law.
recognizing that this is the only R1, R13, is it?
R1A.
R1A in the city, wouldn't that be enough?
No, sir.
What would be enough?
So it depends. It depends what it's very hard for me to answer that question without knowing what the change is, right? So if you tell me what the change is, then we can discuss whether that's consistent with the master plan or inconsistent with the master plan. It would have to go to the planning board like every land use. So this is required by the state of New Jersey. This is not a creation by the city of Passaic. The council, let's say, decides to change the ordinance to say whatever it wants to say. It goes to the planning board for a consistency review. And the whole point is this request that the council is making consistent with the master plan? If the planning board finds that it is, they will send a letter over to the council saying that it's consistent, or they can provide some recommendations to the council. Ultimately, the state of New Jersey in the municipal land use law is very particular to explain to councils when a planning board finds inconsistency, right? And the reason I'm bringing that up is because the council still, if they still wanted to go with a project that's inconsistent with the master plan, they could still do that, but it would be at the liability and the hindrance of the governing body. So because I don't know exactly what it is, I can't really tell you what direction or how that would affect the municipality. This is all guided by the state of New Jersey municipal land use law that we follow to the T.
Good, thank you.
Council President,
Mayor,
I just would ask the BA if he would share a bit, or rather that the council would consider, especially with those who are here speaking to a specific project, that though the R1A permits a project like this be presented before the board, the city does not proactively seek out projects like this. This isn't something where the business administrator or members of the city council go out and say, hey, we would like you to consider building a high rise. What occurs is individuals in this law, in this provision, what is allowed has been public that anyone can access since the 1950s. They bring an application before the board, and the board, obviously, because of the responsibilities and oaths that they have taken, must only consider what is permissible according to the law. That clarity is important because some may have the perception that somehow the city is proactively seeking projects like this. I think that most of us have had in-depth conversations regarding the impact of development throughout the city. We've had real conversations about having a balanced approach to ensure that the footprint of the impact on the community does not have adverse impact or effects on the quality of life of the residents, but we're subject to the law. But the planning board or any of our boards cannot arbitrarily or subjectively, because they feel they would not like a project, simply deny an application if it meets all of the requirements. That's why we take such consideration and time to ensure that our attorneys, our engineers do their due diligence. So I wanted to clarify that because I think it's important when residents come to a council meeting or speak to the mayor, they understood. I believe the first speaker had shared that perhaps I had stated, I'm not sure if my words verbatim was nothing I can do, but more rather that if they meet all of the requirements of the law, we are limited as to what a city can do, because then, of course, we could be held liable and it could go to court if an individual has an application that meets all of the requirements and they are denied unjustly. So I wanted to give that.
We are appreciating that fact, of course. Yes, sir.
Zvi Weissman, 155 High Street. Good evening, Mayor Laura, Council President, and members of the City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. We're here tonight not just to express concern, but offer a solution. Others have spoken and will speak about the damage the outdated zoning is doing in our neighborhoods. I'm here with one clear, focused message. The council can and must take action to amend the R1A zoning code and prevent more damage from being done. We've come to you with more than a complaint. We've come to you with a drafted zoning amendment. The language is ready to be introduced and be voted on. We're not speaking alone. Although there's only a few members here, we have a petition signed by close to 400 members of our community. It reads as follows. I believe the R1A zoning district is a already stable, well-developed zone that should be preserved in its current form, and that conditional use requirements for multifamily apartments of 4 stories or more must be removed from this district. I believe the R1 and R2 districts preserve the diverse housing choices for the city of Passaic, with single-family houses consisting of less than 10% of the housing stock, and that newly passed provisions allowing townhouse development in these districts will exacerbate the shortage of diverse housing choices for Passaic residents. The additional something on the petition, but that's referring to the project. We've gathered close to 400. What's more frustrating is that this moment was entirely predictable, and it was predicted. Mr. Goldman foresaw this exact situation a few years back. He emailed some of you right here tonight, and he warned that the R1A zoning, if left unchanged, could lead to this kind of out-of-scale development we're seeing now. And the response he got, don't poke the bear. Well, it happened anyways. And now we're in a position where we either keep on saying it won't happen again, or we could actually do something to make sure it doesn't. As many mentioned, the fact that your own planning documents said in the city's 2013 master plan recommended removing the high-rise development and as a permitted conditional use in the R1A zone. And the 2024 master plan re-examination reaffirmed the same recommendation. It recognized that the R1A zone is a stable, developed residential district and high-rise buildings are no longer appropriate. The planning documents are aligned, the residents are aligned. The question is the council willing to act? You told us privately, your hands are tied and that the zoning is outdated. Well, here's the opportunity to untie those hands. If the council fails to act, it's not a neutral position. It's a green light to developers that this kind of project is welcomed in our R1A. You're not just leaving the door open, you're holding it open. We understand that it may not help the current development application, but this resolution about stopping the next one or resubmission of another version is what we're here for. The language is drafted, the public's behind you, and the city-owned plan support this change. So please, let me introduce the ordinance as well as the petition. Can I come present this?
We'd be happy to, if you'd like to give it to the clerk, please. Thank you so much. Anyone else like to address the council, please?
Good evening. Renee Griggs, 23 Aspen Place, apartment 6C. I come tonight, I'm gonna start backwards. On August the 23rd, the residents of Spear Village gave a community back to school event. The reason I said I'm starting backwards because it was a major concern by the residents because 6 police officers attended that event that just stood around. We was wondering why they was just there for a back to school event and they never there when bullets is hitting our windows in our buildings, in our cars. That was a major concern by the resident. We was wondering why for a little community back to school event with school age children, 6 officers was present. Nevertheless, we wanted to make that point noted. They're never there when needed. Because we didn't understand that one. I didn't either. But nevertheless, they were there. They didn't do nothing. They just stood in the middle of the way, technically. We have video footage that you can see if you want to review that, because every time we say something, there's always questions. But nevertheless, I would like to thank Passaic Bravers, our fire department, for coming out, cooking all of those hamburgers and hot dogs for everybody that attended. We just do not participate with residents of Spear Village. We do that HUD radius where surrounding neighborhoods is allowed to come and participate with us. And we would like to thank Passaic Finest, the police department, for donating juices and waters and sodas. We greatly appreciate anytime any agency or organization or government part of this city participate with us. On behalf of the residents of Spear Village, I'd like to thank Weatherly and Deputy Chief Gentile, always overseeing our permits, make sure that we are legal and we are abiding by the rules and regulations. So we thank you for your help and participation, especially to the PBA and the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grace. Anyone else like to address the council, please?
Good evening, Mayor, Council President, Council members. My name is Yitz Weiss. I live at 97 Westerville Place, along with my wife, diagonally opposite the proposed complex that people are thinking of developing. I'm here this evening to lend my voice in support of all of those who have come out tonight to oppose that complex and to respectfully request that the council seriously consider amending the ordinance, or passing an ordinance rather, to amend the zoning. I would also like to specifically request from the council, if I can, any next steps that we might take as a group. One positive that has come out of this is it has galvanized a grassroots effort for some of the people living in our city to become more interested in what goes on in city government. I guess that's a good thing. But if we can have some specific direction in terms of what we can do going forward to possibly help this cause. Thank you.
Stay up there, yes, for just a moment, please. It is possible that there might be litigation on this matter, which is why you won't hear much from this council or from the administration, certainly not publicly. By the way, the reason that it has not been on the agenda is multifold, not the least of which is that a member of this council, as many of you may be aware, lost both his daughter-in-law as well as his father within a short period of time. And it's been made difficult for him and for all of us and the oncoming holidays and et cetera. So it is not out of neglect that this issue, or concern that this issue has not been on the public agenda. It has been on the private agenda. I will admit to you that I speak to the mayor several times a week, sometimes several times a day, and inadvertently or purposely, this always is a part of the conversation. Having said that, you realistically cannot expect members of this council to share with you, forgive me, or anyone else, discussions which are held in private and not for public discussion on matters such as this. Of course, respecting all requirements for quorum and for majority of votes, et cetera. But nonetheless, there is that caveat, as we're aware. So I wouldn't want anyone leaving here saying the council was not being cooperative with us because they won't even share with us the things that they're discussing when, in fact, by nature, we can't. This is a very interesting area, to say the least. It touches upon any number of areas and any number of concerns. And all of us are, I think, scratching our heads and saying, why didn't we do something in 1950? When I think that I might be one of the only people here who actually, not 50, but 51, but sort of a year late. But let me assure you that it has been a matter of discussion. It will continue to be a matter of discussion. It is not an easy solution. It touches upon any number of different items, which I would rather not elaborate for the record. But we are well aware of the concern. We are well aware of the posters. We are well aware of the handouts. We have to figure out a way to make this work. If you or anyone else that you know has some ideas, I know this usually involves lawyers to a large degree. I always thought that you could get the opinion that you wanted, depending on speaking to the right lawyer, but I'm told by my daughter-in-law, my brother-in-law, my brother, all of whom have the pleasure to be lawyers in their defense. So we'd be happy to keep you posted with anything that we can publicly. It is a matter of concern. We hear many people's concern and outrage. We know this is the biggest investment, their home is the biggest investment they've ever made in anything and probably ever will. That their values, their quality of life, we are aware of it. We are aware of it. But right now, we can come to some conclusions which need to pass, as the mayor so eloquently stated, need to pass legal muster. We, in fact, cannot continue. So we're at a stoppage right now, but we hope to, even in the next days coming up, get something done on it. But right now, we're just not there yet. And to the gentleman, if I may, forgive me, who handed us the ordinance, we'd be happy to have our attorneys look it over and see if there's any kind of value that we can get from it. Councilman Mayor?
Thank you. Mr. Fernandez, the R1A modifications were made in the 50s. The assumptions were like it was closer to public transit back then. Assumptions were back then people had like no cars, one car at max, and currently I think someone mentioned a different project in close vicinity that probably had similar requirements. Was the assumptions in 1950, I would assume that people had 0 to 1 car, and now it's probably more than that.
Yeah, which only makes the argument to maintain the high rise.
Maintain the high rise, but even though the proof is that there's more cars.
Yeah, so they're pushed currently now, 50s being the 50s, but currently the push throughout the state of New Jersey is urban transit development. There's money out there to do urban transit development. The push, especially, we are what's considered in the state of New Jersey a planning area 1, which is where development should be occurring, right? But again, let's preface it with balance and oversight and review. It's not right. These are just generic statements. This is not me saying we're doing X, Y, Z. These are just specific planning factors that are currently happening within the state and in the country, by the way, where urban transit development, especially in the state of New Jersey, is pushed. Unlike many other municipalities, our only mass transit train that we have is in our single-family zone, right? So to change that zone would be of significant detriment to those living in the municipality, and that's understood. So the R1A was then created at that time, and I must say that a lot of the similar concepts that were discussed in that document are still discussed in today's in planning circles about developments within urban transit hubs, such as the train station and hopefully our brand new state-of-the-art bus terminal, and that's where things are located. And if you look at our R1A zone and you do a radius in that section, you'll see that from the train station to Main Avenue's bus terminal is roughly a 10-minute walk.
The law that was passed by the legislature in this state, certainly we're all well familiar with the urban transit zone. I believe that was Senator Lesniak's legislation, right? Allows, encourages, does not require.
Oh, that's 100% correct. That's why I prefaced my statements with, planning facts and what the planning proposals are based on those. Not every municipality heeds that or takes act of that. We're just saying that in the planning world, planners, right, plan for that, right? And then municipalities have to evaluate the impacts of that and decide whether that's going to continue or not continue. But it is proper planning to, in fact, as being blessed as the author of both of the master plans, I can tell you that one of the concepts was higher densities around the train station.
Just from my knowledge, and I know the answer, but so it's a loaded question, but how, in terms of people per square mile in the city of Passaic, do you know what that number is?
So it would depend on the.
So let me rephrase it. Passaic, to my understanding, has always been within the top 20 municipalities in terms of density in the United States.
At one time, we were the fifth most densely populated city for populations of over 50,000 residents when juxtaposed to other municipalities.
Top 20 in the entire country. And the suggestion is being made that a bunch of planners are going to tell us that we're not dense enough?
No, that's not what they're saying. And
in proximity to transportation to the train station.
Every section of Passaic is not the same.
Correct.
There's availability of additional density in some areas than in others. Each of them have to be evaluated on their own. And planners suggest and recommend, and governing bodies pass or deny, right? And planning boards approve or deny projects that, are the impacts are too negative within each of them. That's why the process was created. There's checks and balances. There's regulations that take into effect that we all have to abide by and follow. But you cannot deny the fact that when you're pushing for mass transit, not having population around your main mass transit building is a negative for the use of mass transit, right? Or to de-incentivize the driving of vehicles, because the idea of the densities around mass transit is twofold, right? It's twofold. One is to de-incentivize the use of vehicles so you can get around a lot easier. And number two, give access to those that otherwise wouldn't have the ability to traverse the city and into other areas, to have the ability of having mass transit to access the mass transit. So there's it's a multifaceted.
I agree with you 100%, but where I think that we may disagree is, whereas your analysis draws you to the train station as that central hub, my analysis is that Passaic, being a city different than many, many others, and not blessed with a railroad per se, but what we are blessed with, are cars, and with taxis and bus routes, and inclusion of the mayor's new initiative.
Which is great.
And $1.87 to go anywhere in the city and all this other stuff.
And our free shuttle that goes around the city, within the city.
Amazing stuff that were wrong in only one way, and that is that rather than speaking about the train station being the epicenter, it in fact should be the bus station, which becomes the epicenter. And that, it would seem to me, might change the scenario a bit, no?
Yeah, well, we look at all mass transit.
Who's the we? I'm sorry.
Key. The planning the planning world, right? We're talking about planning and design. We look
Oh.
at all of the alternative means of transportation as all, how do we get individuals to the most means of transportation as possible? So generically, in, you know, planning, that's what you look at. How do we get the maximum amount of people to access mass transit, whether that be the bus, whether that be the taxi, whether that, well, actually, the bus and the train station are the two main modes of transportation and that you try to design to get individuals to that area. But again, this is not, I'm not saying one way is right, one way is wrong. I'm just generically speaking about planning and how, you know, planners.
The perspective from the planners.
From the planner. I'm not saying that's going to be what we do here or not do here. It's just so you understand kind of the idea of why things are happening the way things are happening. And the council can say tomorrow, I hate it all, get rid of it, right? And then we go ahead and we try to do that.
Council President, Councilman, I don't want to. Council President, if I may, I just wanted to share, and obviously for those that may be watching online and you hear urban transit hub development and all of these words that individuals are privy to or because of the knowledge of the background may lose what we're basically talking about. If I just may, closer to the train station, more appealing than some perspectives of development further away from the train station. But Council President, I'm going to ask you to monitor carefully these next statements just because I did want to address the speaker's requests, but carefully understanding that we may face future litigation, potentially have some hearings, that I want everyone present to be aware that at the request of many of the council members, along with the business administrator and myself, we have explored alternatives. We cannot go into detail that may specifically resolve the concern of those in closest proximity to the proposed application. And we may be able, even though legally there's a right to build, and they have, for lack of a better description, crossed all their T's, dotted all their I's, and have a right to move forward, there may be a way to incentivize. Over the years, in our east side of our city is the most densely populated area of Passaic. We've been able, through incentives, through negotiations, and perhaps proposing more conducive areas that would be obviously more appealing for development to those who would want to invest. We've been able to see investors perhaps change direction in a way that would benefit all of the community. And here, at the direction of the council, this may be vague, but it's purposely vague because of what the council president shared. We have had meetings with our business administrator, and we are pursuing a potential solution to this specific concern. Now, I understand that this is two parts. One, with the specific development that has been proposed and passed through boards and they're discussing, and then the potential of perhaps looking at the boards and how we can rezone. That is a question for the council. Again, the council president asked, it is a council meeting. I had to share a little bit every now and then, or maybe more than just a little bit every now and then. But I did want to share that and let the community know that perhaps it can be encouraging to understand that it's not that the council said, well, there's nothing we can do. And again, I'll reiterate, these aren't projects that the administration nor the council, the members of the administration go out into the community proactively seeking. I know there's been some description, or perhaps some people portraying this, the council isn't going around and neither is the administration saying we need more high rises in this area or other. We look at applications, we have to be objective, again, because if it goes to court and there is even a hint of us trying to sway these boards one way or another for any reason outside of something that directly would adversely impact the community, then the city could end up, and we've seen neighboring municipalities that deny application end up having to pay out and the development occurs anyway. So we're very cautious in that approach, but I want to assure you, the council, members of the council president, the business administrator, myself, members of the council, we have met with stakeholders, those who are involved in the interested parties, and we've spoken to key individuals, and there is a lot of interest in pursuing the alternative that we came up with, though I cannot guarantee it. I am optimistic that we may find a solution that everyone in the immediate area will be very happy with. And then, of course, I leave that to the council in regards to any future consideration of designations. But to the business administrator's point, there's money available for development in proximity to transit. That's just a way of the state goes around. In perspectives, everyone may have a different opinion, obviously. Buses are extremely important. That's why we pursued it. Our council president, through his role as assemblyman, was crucial in securing us over $6 million to get a state-of-the-art, brand-new bus terminal on Main Avenue that connects from the train station here to the train station in Bergen County. So that is exciting, and we share it. But with those funds and advancement and progress, comes sometimes, I wouldn't call it pressure because of what it connotes, but the request from the state for us to explore opportunities for urban transit hub development, and that we don't proactively go out there, we can't deter people from putting in applications before boards. We can't tell them, hey, you know, because they know what the state is providing money for. They understand the reports as well. They put in those applications, and the boards have a responsibility to consider them objectively and legally. So I wanted to share that, but again, hint at the fact that, without giving details, before my mic gets cut off, of conversations that may potentially resolve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Mayor?
Just going back to the perspective from the planner. So the perspective of the planner was that high rises and the like higher, denser construction would be more appropriate closer to the transit hubs. But the authors of the master plan makes recommendations to eliminate R1, RA. Like,
So
I'm having a hard time.
You're speaking to the author of the master plan.
That's for the city.
It's in the.
That's for the city, correct?
That is correct for the city of Passaic.
By the way, just to get clarity, the master plan is voted upon by
The
the,
city, but well, it's a planning board document. So it's voted upon by the planning board with reviewing.
with advising consent of the city
And the planning board.
okay, but the planning board reports to the city. The city doesn't report to the planning.
Well, in this case, the state of New Jersey requires that the master plan is a planning document and approved by the planning board. So the way the checks and balances work in the state of New Jersey, the planning board makes the master plan, then ordinances are created based on that master plan. It gives you the right to zone. And then any deviations from that zoning plan then goes to the zoning board for deviations that are not permitted. So that's the structure within the state of New Jersey for planning. So the master plan is a planning board document.
And the ordinances are created
And
by
the
the
ordinances
council.
are created by the council.
Just to get clarity, the planning board document is approved by the
Planning board.
planning board, and the planning board is appointed by the
Mayor with a
member of the council.
member of the council and a, I forget what they call them, the class 2 member, which is a official of the municipality.
And the zoning board is created by the
council, because the council creates the laws, so the council appoints those that would deviate from the law.
Okay. I just wanted to get clarity in terms of where power comes from and all of its.
Yeah, well, the laws, the only body that can create a law is this one, right? Which I know you know, but for the public, the ordinance is the power of an ordinance lies with the city council. So creating a law is yours, but within that, there's checks and balances. That's why there has to be consistency with the master plan. And then there's appeal processes, which can go to the zoning board, right? So.
Good. Anyone else? I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your consideration, and thank you for engaging with us on this and taking it seriously. That's very much appreciated.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Business Administrator, Your Honor, President of the City Council, and all the other members. I'm here because the person that was speaking before me lives on the corner of Orchard and Westerville. It so happens that I live right on Orchard. Right now, there's a building there, and that building was built with when my wife was 9 years old. It was built 2 years later. So now they want to build a building. This is 4 stories. The next one is going to be 3 times as big as that one. My concern is there's 194 apartments, 89 of them one family, 86 2 families, and 3 families, and so forth. Could you imagine? I personally calculated based on the way. By the way, I was on the zoning board in the past, so I know a little bit of this. And I calculated if this were to happen, could you imagine? She says that she's going to give 215 parking spots off street. I calculated over 500 if you go by families and bedrooms and so forth. So my concern is right now, if that building was built right now when it was there already, I would have to, I don't know how I could see the top of the building. It would be like me looking up to see the tip of the Empire State Building. Those are my concerns. And I hope that you understand my concerns. I live right on North Street, literally. Sometimes I think that the building, if it was ever built and we had an earthquake, it'll fall on my house. So those are my concerns. And it's weird because I already seen these plans and they even requesting to want a dog park. Could you imagine a dog park when there's a dog park like 2 minutes from where I live, which is where this will be built? And the other problem that I have with that is they want to literally put on Orchard Street itself where they can back in to I forget exactly the words, but the trucks will back in to load and unload for that so-called project. And I'm very unhappy with this, and I'm just expressing how I feel with all the people here, because I literally live amongst them, and they're very good people. So I hope that you guys understand where we're coming from. That's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. Anyone else like to address the council?
Hi, my name is Frida Kogan. I live at 238
If you could
High
bring the
Street.
microphone a bit closer.
Frida Kogan, 238 High Street. I just want to give a general view of the area where this building is being built. So in about a 6-block radius from about Van Houten to Akrig, we have a synagogue where thousands of people go in and out every day. We have the Mario Drago, I think I don't know how to pronounce it, public school. Again, thousands of kids. We have Yeshiva Gedola of Passaic. Again, that's a few hundred people in that building. And we have Yeshiva Katana of Passaic, where there's at least 1,500 people. We're talking about mostly little kids from these 2 schools, and plus the adults walking back and forth. The traffic, right now, I cannot park in front of, I don't have a driveway, I cannot park in front of my house. I don't understand how this is not a major fire hazard. Westervelt and Orchard are small side streets. These are not major streets like Passaic Avenue, where Carlton Towers or these, buildings are being built. These are small side streets. I don't know how it's not a major fire hazard. I don't know how a traffic engineer would allow such a thing to happen. It just seems impossible with all of these people going back and forth. The carpools, the walking, the kids walking to and from school. It just doesn't seem possible that you could fit all of this in such a small neighborhood on small side streets. That's it. I mean, I would like to know about how this traffic engineer would allow it and how the fire department would allow
it. Thank you, ma'am.
Council President?
Mayor.
Very quickly, I know the business administrator can share. This is just for the public sometimes for education. Oftentimes with projects like this, the fire department is more supportive. especially when there's going to be an old building that's going to be replaced with a new building just because of the upgrades when it comes to fire safety. If you speak to our chief of the fire department, he will always encourage newer development just because of major concerns regarding, and the specifics he would go into in more detail, but I know that there's certain construction concerns and fire safety procedures and measures that are taken when you create a new structure. In terms of the traffic study, yes, there was a traffic study. In fact, the request at the council, obviously our business administrator, who I share, is always diligent in ensuring that he does everything accordingly in terms of, back to the word due diligence, there was a traffic study, yes. Yeah, they even address in terms of the pressure of water and the impact on the sewer system, and it all came back acceptable. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. We don't get to fabricate it. We don't get to make it up. That's just, we receive the reports as government. We don't get the opportunity. We can send them back and have objective, independent studies, but we don't do them. We don't do the study. So it's not the city. We don't send our engineers. The council doesn't make a phone call and say, I want this to pass. I don't want this to pass. That's not how it occurs. I don't know if the business administrator would like to add just for clarity.
Yeah, if I may just elaborate a little bit more on that. No one is disagreeing with any of the comments that are being made here this evening. There is a process. So within that conditional use variance, there are specific requirements for a traffic study. It's one of the only ordinances that actually requires a traffic study to be conducted because of the concerns that residents may have. Additionally, just like the mayor was alluding to, it also requires a study of the infrastructure for water and sewer services to be conducted, right? Those are conducted, but it is in the purview of the board that is reviewing it to assess those reports and decide if those reports are significant enough to deny or ask for changes, right? But whether it be a zoning board or a planning board, whether you would have, if this would have ended up as a D3 or ended up in the planning board, it is the responsibility of those board members to analyze those reports and make a decision according to that. So the studies, so who does the study, which is the other question, the burden of proof is always on the applicant. So the applicant has the burden to prove whether this does not have the negative impact that of the proposal. And then the public has the right, as my understanding is, has already been taken, right, to get their own witnesses, get their own attorneys, and refute all the proposal that the applicant has. That is the legal process that was created for every municipality in the state of New Jersey. The council members, yes, can analyze ordinances and change the ordinances accordingly, but that does not alleviate the process that has to be followed for the approval or denial of any application. So I just wanted to make that clear that you are correct, and that is your assessment. You have every right to refute their professionals, and that because of the type of use that's being allowed conditionally, and I can't stress it enough, because under the law, a conditional use variance is different than a permitted use, right? It has that burden on the applicant to provide those documents so that they can be analyzed by the boards and can be refuted by the public.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarity. Anyone else wish to address the council? Yes, sir.
Yes, Sheer Turner. I live on Orchard Street, just down from the proposed development. I'd just like to add to all the comments being said. I want to thank council members, the president, and the mayor for the time and this important issue. There's a few things that make up a community, and this happens, throughout any demographic. For us, for us, it's about the kids. It's about having, you know, our kids being safe, a safe place to you know, to hang out on the street if they want to, come home from school, you know, go to school. When that's put at jeopardy or at question, that becomes a problem. And that obviously is, you know, a concern, a big concern of mine. I'm sure, you know, everyone here today. We moved to Passaic about 7 years ago, so we knew what we're moving into. I moved onto Orchard Street. I knew that building was there. I didn't know too much about the building, but I knew it wasn't, you know, it was out of character for the place, right? Aesthetically, at least. I didn't know much about the demographic and things like that. Living there, though, for the past 7 years, we've come accustomed to, certain things that have, you know, happened. If it's drug busts that have happened there, police have come there and busted. You know, if there's drug deals that we saw happen on the street, you know, we've witnessed that. It's a transient population. That building has introduced a transient, you know, type of population. People not invested in their properties. They're renting or whatever they're doing. And they're not fully invested like we are. You know, we have families. We want to build a community. We want to know who our neighbors are. This is not New York City. You know, we want to know who our neighbors are. We want to get along with them. You know, Santiago, we come to him often on, you know, if we need assistance, whatever the case may be. You know, certain times. There's a sense of community that we want to build and that we have. So, you know, I moved in there knowing, you know, I'm not rehashing the past. You know, what's done is done. It's already there. You know, better the devil you know, right? So, you know, we live with what we have already. But to introduce something, you know, that we introduce a further transient population into our, you know, into our community, I think it sets a dangerous precedent for us as a community in terms of, you know, wanting to stay there. If this bill is like, I would seriously consider moving because it's just not part of the fabric. It's not part of what I wanted for my family. And I think that's, you know, all the you know, everyone's been a beneficiary of you know, the influx of, you know, the Jewish populace into that area. You know, property prices have risen, you know, have risen quite dramatically in the last couple of years, as everyone's experienced. And, you know, yes, that means more land taxes, more investment by the community in infrastructure, like the Aisle 1, for instance, you know, the big center on Brook Avenue, things like that, you know, that everyone's a benefit of. So I think you know, a development like this could put that at jeopardy. It could put the future of at least, you know, that area in jeopardy and could, you know, wind things backwards. Furthermore, just speaking on the safety of it, so beyond the aesthetics and the city planning of it, the safety of the current population that's there. You know, my children can't walk to school that route. So we live Orchard, and then there's Westerville right at the end. That will be the quicker way for my girls to go to school because the girls' school's just up there. They have to walk around. Now, fine, okay, we live with it currently, but I can only imagine how much worse it's going to be when if a greater transient population is introduced, you know, 4 or 5 times the amount, it's going to completely, you know, it's going to make things a lot worse. Beyond that, my daughter also has a friend that lives at the end of the street. She's too afraid to walk alone, you know, to her friend's house on the corner of Western and Orchard Street. This shouldn't be happening, I don't think, at least in Passaic. So fine, so we alert the police, you know, when we can, you know, they come and they take care of the issues. You know, but again, this is something I think, you know, we've learned to live with. But I think that, you know, I think in the future, I think if we can stop something potentially getting worse and making it even more, you know, I think the responsibility is on us to do so. Furthermore, just on the traffic end also, when a bottleneck's created, right, it causes people to go a lot faster. Right, they take opportunities and they sometimes, you know, they're trying to, you know, avail of certain gaps in traffic, whatever the case may be. So they might, you know, go a bit fast, and that's caused problems also for my children when they're crossing the street at the stop signs and that kind of thing. People try and cheat their way through just because of the current traffic issues there. So again, how much more so when, you know, there's, you know, you're adding another 194 cars or whatever the case may be, you know, all those extra cars.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council at this time? Seeing no hands, is there a motion to close public hearing, please? Motion. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilman Golon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. We'll take a 5-minute break, ladies and gentlemen, then come back for business. A motion to reconvene?
Take care.
May we have a motion to reconvene?
Move it. Move it. Second.
Motion and second to reconvene. Roll call to reconvene, please.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. We are back on the agenda. Room number 6, ordinances for second and final reading. A hearing is required. Number 1, proposed.
Council President, forgive me. I wanted to share something with you if possible, because there was a question that was asked and we did not have time to address it. There was a question asked, and I want to thank Ms. Renee Griggs and all those who put that program together in Aspen Place for the children. But there was a question about the police and why they were there, and I just wanted to share on the record. And to the council, oftentimes when there's an event, whether it's a not-for-profit, whether it's an organization, and there are permits, there's a requirement to have police presence. The city has often, in order to avoid having charges made, have police in the presence free of charge, without cost. And whether that happens in the park, or an organization says we want to do this event, whether that happens at a not-for-profit or a faith-based, and they say we're going to do this, and we'll send the police in the area for free. If in any way there was a lack of communication with the police, but I want to thank the chief, because oftentimes what we do, and perhaps we could do a better job at explaining to individuals when they come to the clerk and they'll say, we're going to have an event, we're expecting 80 people, 100 people out in the public. There's a requirement to pay for police. And oftentimes, again, in the past, what we have done and we continue to do is say, well, just have cops in the area and then they won't have to pay, depending on the organization. So I wanted to clarify, because the organizers should have been aware that police in the presence, though they appear, why are you here? It's not a call. It's actually to save them from having to pay any additional costs, because police, by record and requirements, are supposed to be at public events, depending on the number of people. So I just wanted to add that for clarity.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that clarification. Ordinances for second and final reading. Proposed ordinance 2495-25, an ordinance amending Chapter 295, Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the City of Passaic, adding new Section 295-7.4, entitled State Street Municipal Parking Deck Fees. Is there a motion to open public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please, to open.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, the council is contemplating proposed ordinance 2495-25. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this item only?
Sino Juan, I would like to move first.
Second.
Motion to close and motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. On the ordinance, is there a maker, please?
Move it.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. The ordinance is passed.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Next, please, proposed ordinance 2496-25, an ordinance amending the city code of the City of Passaic, Chapter 295, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 12, Schedule, Section 32.1, Schedule 14, Stop Intersections, to add additional stop sign at Monroe Street, intersection on Hope Avenue. Is there a motion, please, to open public hearing?
Motion.
Motion
Second.
and second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on proposed ordinance 2496-25?
Seeing no hands, motion to close.
Second.
Motion and second to close public hearing.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. The ordinance is passed.
No.
The ordinance is not passed.
No,
Is there a maker of the ordinance, please?
Move it.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. Next, please. Proposed ordinance 2497-25, an ordinance amending the city code of the City of Passaic, Chapter 295, Vehicles and Traffic, Part 1, General Provisions, Article 12, Schedule, Section 23.1, Schedule, 4A, Angle Parking. Is there a motion, please, to open public hearing?
Motion.
Motion
Second.
and second. Thank you. Roll call.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, the council is contemplating proposed ordinance 2497. Is there anyone who would like to address this item and this item only?
Seeing no hands, motion to close.
Second.
Motion and second to close. Roll call.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. On the ordinance,
Motion.
Second.
motion and second to approve. Roll call.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. The motion is passed. Next, please, proposed ordinance 2498-25, an ordinance amending the designation of restricted parking for disabled persons. Is there a motion, please, to open public hearing?
Move it.
Motion and
Second.
second. Roll call.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, the council is contemplating proposed ordinance 2498. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council on this item and this item only?
Do you want to move to close?
Second.
Motion and second to close public hearing.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. That was on the ordinance?
Motion. Move it.
That was,
No one maker.
where are we on this ordinance?
We need to adopt it.
Is there a motion to adopt, please?
Move it.
Motion?
Second.
Motion and second to adopt 2498. Roll call.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. On the ordinance?
We're good.
We're good?
That
We
was
done?
on.
We finished it? Okay, we're on communications now.
No,
Reverend-
2499.
Number 5.
So we're not there. That was a tease. Is there a motion, please, to have a public hearing on proposed ordinance 2499?
Motion to open.
Motion to open. Roll call.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor.
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez.
Yes.
Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. At this time, the council, ladies and gentlemen, is debating acceptance of ordinance 2499. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this ordinance and this ordinance only?
Seeing no hands, let's close it.
Second.
Motion and second to close. Roll call, please, to close.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. We did the ordinances.
No.
Now we need one to adopt. Is there any more that
Motion
come
to
after
move.
this motion? Is there a second, please, to adopt?
Second.
Motion and second to adopt.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. We're up to communications now. Roman numeral 7 on our agenda, items 6 through 11. Are there any questions, please, on items 6 through 11? Seeing none at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept items 6 through 11?
Motion.
Motion, is there a
Second.
second, please? Motion and
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colom Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
yes, thank you. We're up to all matters listed here under considered to be routine in nature. Items 12 through 21 inclusive. Are there any questions, please, on 12 through 21?
20.
On 20, please, Millennium Strategies Monthly Activity Report. Councilman.
I was hoping that everybody would be here still to debate and highlight some of these, but is there any real, any significant things we haven't gotten in the past or that we missed out on from the grant perspective? In the Millennium Strategy Report, are there any big ticket items that you want to highlight for us?
I think the council knows that we have looked under every rock, any kind of thing, and with Millennium Strategy,
Call it what it is, Mr. Fernandez. It's not luck at all. It's lots of hard work.
well, you know, it helps when you have some connections outside. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Sorry, he was coming. It's good to know that we have connections outside and the relationships that the mayor and you have, council president outside is very good. So for example, one of the things that we'd like to highlight, which is in the resolutions, you'll see part of that. Through the state of New Jersey, we received over $700,000 for childhood-led exposure prevention. And I know, Council President, your other role as an Assemblyman. You were instrumental in the lead safe regulations in the state of New Jersey. That's almost $1 million right there in that.
450.
We also received through the DEP Green Acres almost $1 million again, $985,000 for repairs to Third Ward Veterans Memorial Park. Some of that work is ongoing today that you've seen with the rubberized track and the field reconstruction.
Is the outfield, what's the outfield going to be?
So one of the issues in some of the discussions that we've had is keeping it grass. So they're going to put grass. The issue is that if you turf everything, things like the wonderful family festivals that you have that we celebrate there, or the helicopter landing, you really can't do that on an artificial turf field. So there has to be an evaluation. If you turf everything, and every park in the city, you're going to restrict yourself from some of those very popular events that the children love to do. So in this case, the field is going to be
grass.
Yeah, it's going to be
And
grass.
some indirect issues, like you won't be able to walk your dog there, which you see a lot of people that go through there.
I appreciate turf, but it looked, the original form of baseball is definitely nice too.
We have $2 million from New Jersey Water Bank for sewer and stormwater reuse. It's a municipal grant that we received.
I noticed that 20.
I'm sorry, requested.
$1.8 million from FEMA.
Yes, so thank you, Mayor. FEMA, we're still working with FEMA in getting all the flood mitigation repair all along the McDonald Brook.
There's still 2 people left in the.
Yeah, there's still people left in the agency that are still working on getting
FEMA,
the grants.
There's a lot of overgrowth in that book. Like I was like, is that normal? Is that part of the plan? The excessive vegetation?
Because once when I saw the original plans for McDonald Brook and I saw a bunch of this, there's specific types of plants that are in the brook purposefully to absorb a certain amount of water. There's the rocks and the hills that you see inside it. I was told that's called the riprap. And the whole point of that is to slow the flow of water so it hits and it doesn't completely, kind of irrigate the whole area and you have the water flow issues there. So that's something we've been going after significant amount of money. So there is a application that we've made, and I know the mayor is, was adamant we had to make this application. Was $15 million, a $15 million application for. Let me just make sure I don't misspeak on the amount and what it is that we're doing. $15 million grant that we're requesting to the U.S. Congress for another parking deck downtown. So, Mayor, I don't know if you want to
take some Parker, just because the word park is on the street, that's why. It's nothing to do with density.
So Congress turned it down last year. We're going back for it this year. Is that?
We told them that it would be huge, that it would be the best ever, beautiful, that it would be perfect, and that we'll put whatever name we requested on the parking deck if they give us the money, any 5-letter name that they would, or that it would far surpass or trump any other application. Anyway, we also went over $700,000 for safe streets that will impact roads by St. Mary's Hospital, if you want to talk about.
Yes. So the Safe Streets to School, the state funded project, we're very successful in doing that, and that throughout the years has been instrumental in the pathway to and from schools and to transit to make sure that it's safe for pedestrians, especially school children, with curb cuts, the sidewalks, different signalization throughout, which is part of that grant that we're using the money for. And ultimately on Parker Avenue, the multi-million-dollar pedestrian system, I forgot the name. It had like a catchy name, Mary. You remember the name of that catchy system? And it has like all the bells and whistles for that can be adjusted for pickup and drop off times on Parker Avenue, the new complex. which we hope to have installed shortly.
I noticed some storm water and drainage, especially like in 25, I think. Was there, for the Passaic Ave, Lackawanna, Van Houten intersection, I remember previously there was discussion for fixing the flooding issue there. Is
Yes,
there?
we are in the heart of having those discussions with the DEP to see what we can get done with the $5 million that was awarded to us for the flood mitigation in that area. So it's a combination of state funds and federal funds where the FEMA and the county funds were assisting and redoing the little waterfall and the trestle underneath the culvert underneath Passaic Avenue and the brook, and then state funds were for mitigation at the trestle, and we're looking for the best possible scenario to maximize the usage of the $5 million. I think what the council is aware of, looking at all these contracts that we are presenting in the bids, is that just the fear of possible additional tariffs and taxes have spiked up the cost of every single application. And the fact that some of these grants came before these discussions, the pricing of some of these mitigation resources have skyrocketed. So, we've had to look at avenues and objectives to do a meaningful flood mitigation project in that area.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Are there any additional questions on 13 through 21? Seeing no lights at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept items 13 through 21? Excuse me, 12 through 30 through 21.
Move it.
Motion,
Second.
motion and second on 12 through 21.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. We're up to resolutions. Roman numeral 8 on our agenda. 22 is a resolution authorizing closed executive session. Susie, do we need closed session? No. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Fernandez, do we need closed session? Mr. Mayor, members of the council? Good deal. So if we can move on to 23 to 38. Are there any questions, please, on 23 to 38? There's a move to close.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call to, would that be to approve? Roll call to approve, please. Items 23 through 38.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. Roman numeral 9 on our agenda, 39 ordinance amending the designation of restricted parking for disabled persons by New Jersey plate number. Is there a motion to accept for set down for second and final reading at our meeting of
October 9th.
October 9? Is there a motion, please?
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. Ordinances we just did. Roman numeral 10, payment of bills. Are there any questions on the bills? Seeing none, is there a motion, please, to accept the bills as presented?
Move it.
Motion
Second.
and second. Thank you. Roll call.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Mayor,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilman Colon Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. Administrator's report, Mr. Fernandez.
None at this time, sir.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor?
Obviously concerned with programs associated with community development projects, especially funding for not-for-profit organizations for programming in the city, but obviously rental assistance and development. So we're extremely excited about that. In the next couple of weeks, as I mentioned before, we will be celebrating, obviously, Hispanic Heritage Month, the Mexican Parade, as many in the community look to what is often referred to as the head of the year, or Rosh Hashanah, and then right after the New Year. There will be observances of Yom Kippur. We're going into the holiday season. And obviously, with that stated, we'll keep the council and the community abreast of any changes. Like I mentioned on Gregory, we'll have 3 days where the streets will be completely closed from Madison all the way down to Pennington, especially during Rosh Hashanah. So there may be a lot of people on the road. We'll make sure signage and notification is going out early enough. And then lastly, we have had good news in terms of donations, as we mentioned in previous meetings, for potential turkeys and toys. We get extremely excited about these programs as we have many children in need in the community, and we'll make sure that the council is made aware. Lastly, there was a bit of a gap in communication to the council that I wanted to share. We've addressed it with our staff and police. I believe during this promotion, the council did not receive communication for the sergeant's promotions. And we've tightened that up to ensure that you have full information on those occurrences. In the past, you were receiving them directly from an individual who's no longer here. So we'll ensure that we designate that responsibility, whether it's fire, police, to the clerk. And whenever the clerk is aware of a promotion, the council will be made aware immediately. That is the end of my reports.
Very kind of Mayor, thank you. Members of the council? Seeing no lights, is there a motion, please, to adjourn our meeting this evening?
Move it.
Motion and second, roll call to adjourn.
Councilman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilman Colom Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.